Donde and the Shaw, Jones and the Iceman. Today, how the Clippers did it, how LeBron did not, and your boy Leo the Lion. Go drunk, you're home.
Wow. No, I'm comfortable right here. No, I'm fine.
We start with Chris Paul, least valuable player in the NBA. I keyed. You can go on forever if you want on Blake Griffin because he's playing in a different stratosphere right now, back-to-back triple-dubs. Or you can wax poetic on Barnes and Redick and Crawford and Austin Rivers stepping up. But there was another party involved here, a team playing at home with an MVP candidate and a tall player, losing by 16 to a diminished Clippers squadron. Adonde, bigger win for the Clips or loss for the Rockets?
Well, I'll allow for the layoff for the Rockets and you lose your edge. I do believe in that. This was about the Clippers showing the growth they made and the confidence they gained from the Spurs series carrying over into this round. About Blake Griffin playing at a superstar level in addition to elevated play from Matt Barnes and J.J. Redick. So much is going right for the Clippers right now. But I think that's the main thing. They carried the momentum and the knowledge that they gained from that Spurs
series.
Tim
Calishow, what did you see last night?
I think it's a tough loss for the Rockets. Their first-round opponent, the Mavericks, wasn't good enough to take care of how sloppy they are with the basketball. They were terrible in Game 5. Dallas couldn't do anything about it. Last night, 24 turnovers. That's absurd in an NBA, in a 48-minute NBA game. I mean, Harden has 12 assists, but he only has 20. He's got to score more in these situations, but they got to handle the ball. And now they've blown that they played so hard to get the number 2 seed. Now it's
and are you with Adonde? There's a slight pass there because they had a long layoff.
I think the layoff can hurt a little bit, but, I mean, you've got to be ready to overcome that.
Well, Monty, how about you? Are you giving a pass for layoffs? I don't think you are.
I mean, we ain't giving nobody a pass for losing to a Clippers team that didn't have Chris Paul. Like, you look at the ESPN.com box score, look at all the positions on the guys for the Clippers. None of them say PG because Chris Paul's the only point guard they have. The Rockets just lost a home playoff game to a team with Austin Rivers in the starting lineup. This is on them. This is on them for all the turnovers they had. This is on James Harden for not playing especially well. There's no way that you can look at this going in and not think the Rockets are going to win that game without Chris Paul, and then they blew it. We're looking dead at them.
Isola.
That's why it's all about the Clippers. Think about their last 3 wins. Elimination game in San Antonio. Then you win a nip-and-tuck game in Game 7 against San Antonio with Chris Paul as your best player, and then he's not available for Game 1. I think it says a lot about the toughness of this team. Blake Griffin, we all kind of write off as being a paper tiger. He comes in and plays great. To me, this says a lot more about the Clippers to win like this on the road.
And Griffin playing the point forward position, right, Adonde? Could this be a franchise-changing win for this team? I mean, they've been the laughingstock for so long. Their best player's out. Chris Paul's out, and this is what they do.
Well, I think Game 7 was franchise-changing for them. And in this case, what we're seeing from Blake Griffin, used to not be able to be sure that you could give him the ball and he'd get to a basket in the fourth quarter. He's showing he can do that now, or at least get to the line and make free throws. So that's a big change for him.
But I think that Blake has always had an overall game that we haven't given enough credit for. What I want to see is them winning without Chris Paul when he comes back. How much of his guff is Blake Griffin going to be trying to take after he's shown they don't need him that bad, apparently?
Blake Griffin is 3rd in assists. Not on the Clippers. He's 3rd in the NBA in assists right now. This is a new player.
Precisely. So, Frank, does this change the way you view the Clippers and as a legitimate title contender?
Absolutely. Remember what he did against the Spurs. You know, he had the huge turnover in Game 2, the 1-for-9 in the fourth quarter, Game 5. Now he posts back-to-back triple-doubles.
Okay.
Blake Griffin is
we need to move on,
guys.
but Bomani, real quick, were you suggesting maybe the Clippers sit Chris Paul for another game just so they don't have to deal with that right now? What do you say?
I think you sit Chris Paul because hamstrings are tricky. That would be the reason that I'd do it.
Adonde, you're nodding yes as well. You sit him Game 2. Calishaw, no.
I play him whenever he's ready to go.
Okay.
All
right, we'll move on. Now to the Bulls win over the Cavs, where Cleveland found out at just about the same time you did. 19, 15, 9, and 3 from LeBron is not enough. Calishaw, does LeBron need to be better? He said after the game he needs to be better. Can he be better against these Bulls?
He can shoot a little better. He's 9 for 22, and he's going to have to defend better. I mean, the big stat for me last night was the Bulls were 22 for 26 on open jumpers. That seems like a lot of open jumpers, and that's a ridiculously high percentage, even if you're at the foul line shooting 85%. He's going to have to be a little better overall. But this is a team, especially without they're not going to have love at all. But as long as they don't have J.R. Smith for another game, this is a team with no depth at all.
Bomani Jones.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of better it is that we're talking about. He had the 9 assists. He tried to get the guys in. He got 15 rebounds. That's pretty good. 6 turnovers. There's a place where LeBron certainly can be better. But him being better is not going to be enough for them to win these series. As Tim said, they don't have the depth. They went and got Sean Marion and Mike Miller out of the deep freezer. Like, they're playing guys who are not supposed to be playing NBA playoff minutes at this point, which tells me that in order to win this series, this team is going to have to depend on J.R. Smith. Not take what you can get from J.R. Smith, but depend on J.R. Smith.
Well, that's going to be depending over the last 5 games of a series. They're going to have to win 4 of those 5 then if they were to lose their next one. Frank, join us.
Yeah, I just love the fact that Kevin Love was kind of designated to be the scapegoat before the playoffs started, and he was going to be the reason that they lost. Now he really might be the reason that they lose. They need him out there. You know, Bomani mentioned the 6 turnovers. 2 of them were late, the travel call and then the jump pass. I mean, to see LeBron James to be that undecided, not know what to do, he has to play better. He and Kyrie Irving have to score combined 55 or more points in order for them to beat the Chicago Bulls.
Nobody's brought up Jimmy Butler's name in all this because LeBron shot 41% last night. Adonde, the matchup, LeBron versus Butler, is that problematic for the Cavaliers?
Well, it is, and especially if LeBron is going to let people make their names against him, just like Paul George made his name against LeBron James by basically playing even or at his level. LeBron can't tolerate that. You can't have Jimmy Butler matching LeBron James. And Frank is right. You're going to need 55 to 60 points from Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. Then you don't have to depend on J.R. Smith. But you can't count on the Bulls shooting 56% from
Jones back in.
Serious.
Well, LeBron was 7 for 18 when Jimmy Butler was guarding him. The question is going to be, though, is Jimmy Butler going to be able to guard LeBron for all those minutes? Because I think Thibodeau gave him a 2-minute break from his usual 46.
Frank, last word.
Hey, remember something, you know, with the minute restrictions and the injuries that Noah and Derrick Rose had this season, Tom Thibodeau made the team all about Pau Gasol and Jimmy Butler, and look at the 2 guys that came through for them in Game 1.
All right. Can we move on? Can we talk about this Pacquiao injury now? Whether he gets disciplined or not by this commission for not disclosing, who cares, honestly? This conversation is whether people paid for a fight that they shouldn't have happened because a man's arm was about to fall off. Bomani, you smell refund here? How does this affect your view of the fight?
Well, you can go ahead and try to get a refund. You let me know how that works out. You'll have better luck getting a refund from the airline than getting a refund from Floyd Mayweather about that fight. Now, the viewing public, I think the viewing public's in a different situation here because I think the appeal of something like this is the activity that surrounds it. I had a good time on Saturday night. It didn't have anything to do with the fight. I think it's going to wind up being okay for them. It is worth noting, however, that Manny Pacquiao, wherever they collect taxes, apparently Manny Pacquiao owes you guys a lot of money. They say he found out about this tear in April. There was no way in the world he was going to miss out on that paycheck just because his shoulder was hurting. This fight was going on no matter what. Everybody involved, I think, including the viewing public, wanted that fight one arm or 2.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, there's a thin line here between, you know, having the courage to, you know, play hurt and then fooling the public. So which one is it for Pacquiao? He went out there and he fought. It's the public's fault for buying the fight in the first place. And there's already talk about a rematch. And you know what? If they have one 2 years from now, there'll be just as many suckers that will buy the fight. You watch. They'll promote it and say, this time Pacquiao will be better.
You think that if they have a rematch, we're going to buy this fight? For $100 plus?
Absolutely.
Where do you come down in that?
I don't feel so bad for the people who bought the fight. You knew what you were going to get because it was a Floyd Mayweather fight. But I feel bad for the people that bet on Manny Pacquiao. CNN.com story said that more people bet on Pacquiao than Floyd, and that was about $80 million was wagered on this fight just at the sports book.
You feel bad for these people?
Well, yeah, you're betting on damaged goods, and you're not aware of what you're betting on. I mean,
you should do your research
what you're dealing with
before you bet.
He didn't even tell the commission. How is everybody else supposed to know? But no, I would not want to see a rematch, and no, this doesn't excuse it. Just postpone the fight. Just postpone the Rumble in the Jungle because George Foreman had a cut on his eye. It puts it back.
Solo wants the rematch. Galasho, what do you think of that?
People, first of all, there will be one last sucker 2 years from now, and I think there will be more than just one paying $100 to see this rematch. Also, the last people in the world I'm going to feel sorry for are people who bet on sports legally or otherwise and say they didn't get a good deal on their investment. I would say I'd like to go back and look and see if he actually threw decent punches with that right arm. But when I bought it for $100, it said 1 night rental. I'm sure it's not still in my DVR, so I can't go back and look at it.
You know, the thing is, it's possible he had a microscopic tear going into the fight, was expecting to get that shot that he wasn't allowed, and then it tore completely in the fight, and that's the case. Frank, you want to take back anything you said here?
I did not say I want a rematch. I said I think there's going to be one. Bob Arum is a promoter. He knows what he's doing. Floyd Mayweather, People want to see him lose again. There'll be another fight.
They know Manny can't do it.
We've been on. We're taking a break. Buy or sell next. Later, Mike Conley judging the holes in his team. More important than the hole in his face. He wants to play tonight.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Buy or sell.
Down the Calico Jones and Isola. And first, it's Lyle Collins. How the NFL should view Rex Ryan out to dinner with him and his family last night. Collins, of course, expected to be a first-round pick, undrafted after answering questions in a police investigation into the shooting death of a pregnant woman in which he had a relationship with. Police say he isn't a suspect or a person of interest at the moment, Adonde. So, what do you make of this?
I think it's smart on Rex Ryan's part to go down and talk to him. If the Bills have any interest, you're going to learn a lot more in a face-to-face meeting than you will by watching some guy lift weights and run around cones at the combine.
Kalisha?
I agree that Rex is only doing what he and others should be doing. I still don't know why the NFL refused to let him go into a supplemental draft. His agent raised that point, and it seemed like in a special circumstance like this, that would have been the route to go.
Bomani Jones.
Tim, I don't understand why there aren't 32 teams down there talking to Lyle Collins. This is the ultimate open box special. If he had nothing to do with this, you can get a first-round offensive lineman, a guy who might be able to be a tackle for you at bargain basement prices. Until I hear something definitive about what he was involved in, I'd be asking questions.
What I got, Solo?
Yeah, this falls under the category of due diligence, and that's all Rex Ryan is doing right here. There haven't been any charges. No one's been indicted. I think if that were to happen, then I think you'd see every team in the NFL back off. I can't blame Rex Ryan for doing that.
Unrelated, but similar in some ways. How do you view the Seahawks today after drafting Frank Clark in the second round? Seattle Times has an in-depth piece on his history. Kicked off Michigan in November after an arrest for domestic violence. Recently pled guilty to persistently disorderly conduct. 2 days in jail, time served. Seahawks in a statement said they investigated the matter thoroughly before drafting him, though acknowledged they did not speak directly to any witnesses from that night except Clark. Kalisha, how do you view the Seahawks in this?
I don't think any team really has a handle on how to deal with guys who have been either exonerated or they've paid a very small price for something that seems like it should have been bigger. The Cowboys obviously made a different decision than everybody else on Greg Hardy. I don't know why Seattle, a good team as good as they are, would take on a guy who seems to be as big a problem as Frank Clark.
Bomani Jones.
I have a hard time believing the diligence that they did was as strong as they lead us to believe, because I can't see. If you thought it was worth asking Frank Clark about, I don't see how it wouldn't be worth asking the people who had witnessed what had happened. I'm not comfortable with the idea of talking to victims because they shouldn't have to relive this for 32 teams, but they could have talked to somebody. They shouldn't have talked to him at all if they weren't going to talk to somebody else.
Frank Isola?
Yeah, their definition of thorough is rather interesting. They didn't talk to the two women that saw this woman unconscious, semi-naked on a bed. All they spoke to was Frank Clark and got his side of the story. This does not look good from top to bottom.
Adonde.
Yeah, you would think that they want to talk to the two women who said they saw their friend unconscious, but just a bigger question is, why didn't the police have further questions for those two women? All they did was take their email statement and then never bothered to follow up.
Okay. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3. And I'm reading from the New York Post Twitter here, Frank. James Dolan brings back Isaiah Thomas to run the Liberty because who the heck knows? Bobati, buy or sell?
Sell. This is indefensible. When the Knicks have paid out $11 million on Isaiah Thomas or a sexual harassment suit at their offices, no, you can't hire him to run the New York Liberty. Zeke has found him a mark in Jim Dolan, and he keeps pulling on it. And Jim Dolan keeps saying, okay, here's some more money, Frank.
5 years ago, Jim Dolan said, I still consult with Isaiah. I still consider him my friend. You knew that at some point Isaiah would get back in the building. I think if I'm Phil Jackson, I'm a little concerned. Then again, he is making $60 million.
Well, so you think this is about the Knicks for you, of course, and then this is about Isaiah replacing Phil Jackson?
At some point, absolutely.
Donde, how about you? Didn't we already see that play out?
Can't knock the hustle by Isaiah. You also can't knock his basketball drafting acumen. Maybe some of his other GM decisions haven't worked out.
You've said this on the show before. You always rally to Isaiah's drafting acumen.
The optics in this particular situation don't seem to make sense.
Working with Bill Lambier again. Okay, Kalisha, how about you?
I got to sell this. I don't know why anybody in the WNBA would be okay with it. Just getting a famous person involved in your league is not going to sell tickets, especially when they're involved with what Bomani mentioned the last time they worked at Madison Square Garden.
Not a lot of scoring in that segment. Boy, hey. Kalisha, Donnie Jones did enough work earlier. Frank, you are the first to go. What's the last word?
You know, I don't want to see Pacquiao-Mayweather, but I want a rematch with these three palookas right here.
All right, maybe you'll get that later in the week.
You just called me a
For now, lightning round next. And coming up, Bruce Irvin starring in Pardon the Option. Kalisha 18, Adane 16, Jones 15. Anybody's ball game in the lightning round. 1-goal game. Again. First goal wins again. Adane, what did you learn from Capitals 1, Rangers nothing in Game 3?
If the Caps are going to win on a fluky goal like that, then maybe it means they're reversing the course of all those decades of finding almost impossible ways to lose in the playoffs.
So, you think that this is destiny here?
It's good.
Kalisha, how about you?
I think the Caps have stolen the Rangers' style from them. The Rangers had 30 shots, but the Capitals blocked 27. That sounds like a Rangers defense in front of Henrik Lundqvist. That's the style you can't beat.
Bomani?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you might have learned is the Capitals might, by the time it's over, demonstrate themselves to be the better team. I mean, the Rangers outshot them 30-22, but pretty much every other place that you looked, especially in faceoff, the Capitals were on top of them.
Talking about stealing the Rangers style, Kalisha. The Rangers style is playing a 1-goal game. That's what the Rangers style. That's all they do. Lightning 2, Bruce Irvin, unhappy the Seahawks didn't pick up his option. You're seeing his reaction right here on Twitter. Delete that option, one of the great headlines. Kalisha, what do you think of a player venting like this?
I think players have the right to use Twitter and social media the way they want to, and sometimes they say things that are funny or clever. They also get themselves into trouble, or they say really stupid things like Greg Hardy did the other night.
Okay.
In this case, Irvin's just angry. In this particular case, Irvin's angry about it, but I wouldn't have gone that route. I think it's fixable for him.
We know you wouldn't have gone that route. That's fine. Bomani Jones, how about you?
Yeah, but is there really a problem with one of the tweets he says, I am a Seahawk with the 12th man hashtag? He's in a difficult situation. He wants them to pick up the option. They haven't picked it up yet, but I think he's demonstrated that he does, in fact, want to be there. Now, if you're the Seahawks, you'd much rather him do that on Twitter than show up at the office and do all that stuff. Then you might have to call security.
Do you think playing this out so publicly can maybe help his case and get some more money?
It won't do anything. It was just a vent session.
Adane, where are you on this?
Exactly, Bo. There's more to lose than the gain by venting your frustration on Twitter. So keep in mind my number one rule: when in doubt, don't. And also, don't get so hurt. Don't take it so personally. Remember, they got to figure out ways to pay Russell Wilson after next season. So a lot of guys are probably going to be taking pay.
Right now, America awaits to see how Bomani Jones will react to this elimination on Twitter. Do you tweet, Bomani? I haven't seen you on Twitter before.
I mean, I do occasionally, and I have to say, speaking of stealing the Rangers style, I was totally going to say that thing about the 27 block shots. I was, and then Tim stole my style.
Adane Kalisha, we'll leave it at that. Showdown straight ahead. Drunk mascot, repeat, drunk mascot. This is not a drill, people.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
Around the Horn is presented by the latest beer from Guinness. Guinness Blonde American Lager. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. And in part by Wendy's.
Adane Kalisha in Showdown. 2 quick ones, 30 seconds of face time. Good luck to you both. Everybody's got a hole in their face. It just happens Mike Conley's got a few extra ones right now. Post-surgery, he's thinking about playing tonight. He wants to play tonight. What type of difference does Conley make playing, Adane?
Well, I doubt the Grizzlies starting backcourt would get outscored 40-9 again if it was what happened in Game 1. But this series really isn't about the guards. It's about the front court players stretching out the front court players of the Grizzlies. That's why it's a good matchup.
Sure, give the Grizzlies a little confidence. But yesterday, Conley said he wore the mask. He said it gets pretty hot and foggy in there. Imagine trying to chase Steph Curry around the three-point line, and you can't really see him because your mask is fogged up. Seems like a problem.
A point for that problem. Showdown 2. Blame to Austria Vienna's mascot Super Leo for showing up to the job drunk after many reports said he was celebrating his 42nd birthday at the fan festival, or credit for trying to grind through this very surreal performance. Kalisha?
I want to give him credit, but I can't. First of all, I don't recommend showing up drunk for any job, but if you're going to do that and be a mascot, make sure of all things, you are not a lion, and you have to wear a giant head. That is going to be problematic to wear that.
Well, if you do have to wear the head, what's rule number 1 of mascotting, Tim? You stay in character at all times. You don't take your head off in the middle. So maybe if he hadn't been drinking, he'd be better able to adhere to the rules. You don't drink before any job, especially mascotting.
Gotta keep the head on. Keep the head on. Points, game, FaceTime.
One thing we learned last week is that boxing doesn't really fit well into the social media era. Social media allows stories to live on and keeps the media, the mainstream media, from dictating what the narrative is. In this case, it became all about Floyd Mayweather's transgressions outside the ring, including whom he didn't credential. So you wonder what this means for the NFL, because I think the NFL will become like boxing in that it's going to draw from the margins of society as people become increasingly concerned about the safety risks of the game. Will the NFL be able to manage the message as it has done so successfully throughout its career? I don't know.
Didn't see you connecting that to the NFL then. Okay.
Wow. It's all comes back to the NFL in this country, Tony.
That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for coming around. We're on a 23.5-hour break. We'll see you tomorrow around the horn.
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.